Art is subjective. Therefore, it's impossible to categorically state what a great or terrible piece of art is. Nonetheless, certain movies are held in high regard by a consensus of viewers and reviewers alike. So what exactly is it that makes certain films great? What is the magic formula that I can use to make my movie a part of cinema's canon? It's hard to pin down exactly, but in this video I'll break down some factors which I feel contribute to movies being regarded as great. One trademark that connects almost all great films is their story. Not only must the story be engaging, but it must also connect with an audience en masse. In the novel East of Eden, one of John Steinbeck's characters says, "No story has power, nor will it last, unless we feel in ourselves that it is true, and true of us." I'd argue that part of what creates that magical spark that makes humans identify with a story is the tale's ability to, consciously or unconsciously, reveal an insight about the world or human experience. From the beginning of consciousness, humans have always used stories as a way to communicate deep truths, messages, or ideas, rather than just stating these ideas outright. Perhaps because a story is a more nuanced form of communication, different people can take away different things from the same story. As humans, our lives are also just one big story, so drawing theories, ideas, emotions, truths, and themes out of narrative events is something which our brains are accustomed to doing. Many great films have the impact and longevity that they do by taking simple concepts and conveying them through story, almost like a fable. District 9 uses a story about aliens to create a commentary on social segregation, xenophobia, and South African history. Rather than using a complex, wordy argument, the story itself conveys those ideas. Or in Citizen Kane, which uses story to show a man who has to come to terms with the fact that people are not just the sum of their achievements, and that money and power doesn't buy happiness. Kane reveals a truth about life that we can identify in ourselves. Most great films, therefore, have a story which is both engaging and which functions in presenting an insight or truth about the human experience. Great films are a product of their time. They often represent a moment or period in a particular place in history and have a definite cultural impact. For example, Taxi Driver visually represents the tone and feeling of the bleak, dark state that New York was in during the 1970s. Even if movies do not feature contemporary stories, are period or sci-fi films, they still often carry traits which indicate or represent the feelings of the time in which they were conceived. For example, classic Hollywood cinema from the 1950s often displayed a more idealistic, romanticized optimism that was prevalent during the post-World War II economic boom. This tone starkly contrasts many new Hollywood films from the 1970s, which felt far more uneasy, realist, and discomforting, a tone which reflected the economic recession, rising protests, and growing disillusionment and fear about the Cold War. The pieces that make up these films may age over time. The dialogue may become cliché, the costumes out of style, and the performances over the top. However, as great films have a solid thematic idea at the core of their story, these themes will stand the test of time. Like movements in art, with famous works from expressionists and postmodernists, in film, great movies are often selected and remembered which represent the time and style of the period, whether that be French New Wave, New Hollywood, or Italian neorealism. Before I go on, I'd like to thank the sponsors of this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives with a range of classes on topics such as cinematography, directing, editing, and many others. I recently enjoyed a class on storytelling in film by filmmaker and cinematographer Joe Simon, who introduced ways to convey emotion using cinematography through framing, light, and camera movement. Whether you're a hobbyist looking to get started or a working professional, there's a perfect class for your level. Skillshare also frequently launches new premium classes, giving you plenty of videos to explore and enhance your creativity. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. Now, back to the video. This leads to another important aspect which contributes to a film's greatness, its level of technical and artistic innovation. Many great films are remembered for using cinematic devices in inventive ways which pushed storytelling forward and experimented with artistic conventions. This could be through the cinematography, editing, music, or any other expression of technical creative decisions. This could be the dark lighting that set the tone in The Godfather, or the match-on-action cut that transported the story thousands of years in 2001: A Space Odyssey. When watching a great film, more often than not, nothing feels out of place or awkward. The audience just gets sucked into the story. We don't question anything from a tonal point of view or point out technical flaws. This is the sign of a polished technical style. Not only do great films often innovate technically, but there's a high level of synergy between what is in front of the camera and the technical aspects that capture it. Things such as lighting, camera movement, and pacing in the edit are used to elevate and add to the story. I'd attribute this synergy to a director who's able to create a singular artistic vision, one where the technical side is in sync with the artistic side, which is in sync with the story. That's why some of the most well-regarded directors often have a good degree of technical knowledge which they can use to execute their artistic ideas. In a world where we as an audience have become acclimated to having tons of information available at the click of a button, we are more familiar than ever with how things are constructed. The same applies to film. When people are more analytical and critical, it becomes challenging to awe the audience. Back in the day, all it took was a clip of a train coming towards the camera to terrify and amaze folks. Today's audiences are more demanding. Whether a musical, a horror, a comedy, or a drama, great films are able to entangle the viewer, getting them caught up and experiencing emotions because they buy into the world of the movie. Suspending disbelief. Great films therefore create a cinematic landscape which is both believable and sucks you in. Anytime there's a shaky performance, a bit of odd pacing, or an unbelievable twist in the story, filmmakers run the risk of alienating the audience. Speaking of shaky performances, the final factor which I feel largely impacts a film's legacy and impact is casting. Coming back to my first point about story, a great screenplay is meaningless if the on-screen talent aren't cast correctly and have the capacity to tell that story. Star power can help in this regard. Famous actors that are well cast in a great film will retain the role as part of their legacy and solidify their character in the minds of the masses. Whether through film criticism, popular culture, or memes, a character that enters the canon of mainstream culture will increase the impact of the film.
You talking to me?
Stardom isn't a prerequisite though. Many great films have been made without stars by lesser-known actors giving stellar performances. The duty of holding up a story will always partially fall to the actors, so casting should never be underestimated. The magic ingredients for greatness boil down to story, cultural impact, technical innovation, creative synergy, suspending disbelief, and casting. But there's also a mystery surrounding greatness, a spark which sticks in the minds of viewers and places a film in the history books. Maybe it's everything I've mentioned, maybe it's luck, or maybe something else. But what we do know is that it requires masterful filmmaking skills and a creative spark to ignite the fire of greatness. What do you think makes movies great? I'd like to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. Otherwise, I'd just like to say a special thanks to all of the supporters of the channel on Patreon. Until next time, thanks for watching, and goodbye.